Well, I think what you heard the Prime Minister say at the beginning of the clip that you played was to talk about the diverse nation, and he celebrated that.
Cooper, I'm sorry, at the beginning, for 5 minutes of his speech, from the beginning of his speech, for 5 minutes, he did not talk about the benefits of immigration. And then he used this phrase, island of strangers. So I repeat the question for the third time. Is it a phrase you knew about, that you recognise, and that you would use?
No, but I think that's the problem. The immediate phrase that he said immediately before it was to talk about the diverse nation. And then he said, yeah, immigration needs to be controlled and managed. And I think there's a real challenge.
He said we risk becoming an island of strangers. And I just ask again, did you know he was going to use that echo?
No, but the point is that this is...
And would you use that phrase?
I honestly think the point that he is making here is about we have to have controlled and managed. We have to have people who are able to speak English, that we have to make sure that we've got rules that are respected and enforced. I think all of those are things that Good Morning Britain viewers would agree with. I think those are things that are really important across the country.
Susanna opens on the one line that many claim Powell repeated. 3 direct attempts produce no direct yes or no from the Home Secretary. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Home Secretary, you invoke this morning viewers, or Good Morning Britain viewers. I can assure you that they can always tell when a politician doesn't answer the question. And one of the things they will have watched over the last 2.5 minutes is you not answering Susanna's question, but answering questions that she didn't actually ask. Let me ask you another one, then. Let's move the dial a little bit on this.
Richard intervenes to translate audience annoyance into a live critique.
So often it's about language, isn't it? Words. Sir Keir Starmer facing criticism, including from an MP in his own party, over the words that he used while unveiling measures to crack down on immigration yesterday. Yeah,
some have likened his comments, which we heard live here on the programme 24 hours ago. They've compared them to the language of the former Tory MP Enoch Powell, used in his infamous 1968 Rivers of Blood speech, when he referred to strangers. Let's have a listen to what the Prime Minister said.
Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together.
The anchor returns to the unresolved core as the clip replayed runs on.
Well, I think what the Prime Minister was saying yesterday, and you heard him talk about the diverse nation we are, the fact that people have come to work in our NHS, set up small businesses that have become huge businesses, have worked in our community, served in our armed forces for very many years. That's made us the country we are. But immigration also needs to be controlled and managed, and it hasn't been. And that's why you need proper rules in place. He talked about the importance of those rules. He talked about the importance of people being able to speak English and having controls at a time when really net migration increased 4-fold in the space of 4 years. It's really important that we bring that down.
Yvette, Cooper, I appreciate that, and I think, you know, you will probably get a lot of agreement that immigration got out of control and perhaps further controls need to be brought in. That's not what I was referring to. And in fact, you began your answer by explaining the benefits of immigration. Prime Minister didn't do that at the beginning of his speech yesterday. He spent 5 minutes sounding, to a lot of critics, like he could have been Nigel Farage. And the criticism is he actually sounded like Enoch Powell. So I repeat the question, which is, did you know about this island of strangers line? And is it one that you agree with and would use?
Susanna agrees on the policy point but argues on the terminology. Cooper rewrites the policy stakes. The word itself stays uncontested. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Let me ask you another one, then. Let's move the dial a little bit on this. What did you make of the Prime Minister's reasoning, explanation yesterday for not putting a cap on immigration figures? Because his justification for not doing that, and which has obviously attracted a lot of critique, is that we've had caps before and the caps haven't worked, so why have a cap now? That seems a very peculiar logic to apply, because if you don't have a cap, nobody can judge whether you're succeeding or not.
Well, we've said net migration needs to substantially come down. It had increased 4-fold in the space of just 4 years. That is unprecedented. We've never seen that happen before, and it went up to a record high. We're already reducing the number of visas that we are issuing. Those figures will be published in about 2 weeks' time. People will be able to see the progress that's being made. And we set out further measures yesterday, 4 specific measures, including restrictions on care workers and on low-skilled migration and on increasing English language.
But there's no cap on any of that. It's a bit like not having a speed limit. I don't know if I'm speeding if I don't know what the speed limit is. People don't know whether you're being successful, even in your own terms, let alone their judgment, if you don't have a target.
I think people will judge the progress that we've made. So we had the previous government, the Conservatives, repeatedly set targets, but they were meaningless. And nobody trusted them, and I don't think anybody, frankly, has trust in the system. So we know, actually, people will judge on the basis of the progress that they see. Net migration needs to come substantially down. We've set out the impact of particular measures, how many fewer visas that those are expected to deliver, and we've said we will go further if we need to. But I think part of what we've got to do is rebuild confidence and trust in the system by actually delivering, rather than setting and claiming targets that in the end people just don't believe in. That is what the previous government did. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think we should concentrate on practical things, including on social care visas, including on lower skilled visas, including on English language standards.
Medley expects a quantifiable benchmark. Cooper offers obvious improvement rather than exact figures.
And including on training here in the UK.
Can I ask you about the interview that we just did? And I know that you were just coming into the studio at that point, and that's with the most incredible campaigner, 92-year-old Betty Brown. She is one of the oldest victims. In fact, she is the oldest victim surviving of the post office scandal. She had to pay her entire £100,000 life savings into her branch when the Horizon IT glitch and the post office, let's make no bones about it, stole that money from her. She has still only been offered 60% of her claim, and she fears she will not survive to see 100% of her claim. Her point is, she gave 100% of her savings to the post office, and she deserves that money back. Let's just have a listen to what she said.
They demanded 100% from every postmaster.
Totally.
Now, whenever these experts decide on a figure, I don't care what it is, 100% of that must be paid. The Prime Minister must recognise, paid immediately, finish the whole episode until he realises he's got to pay to get it sorted.
Yeah.
It'll go on and on.
Susanna turns from national discourse to a 25-year injustice seeking specifics once more, this time on reparations.
It's obviously appalling the way she's been treated. I'll be honest, I don't know the details of her circumstances or why this has happened, but I do recognise the point that you're making, Susanna. This is really important. She needs to be properly compensated for the experiences she's had and the disgraceful way that she's been treated.
Well, we all recognise the point, don't we? We wouldn't be human if we didn't. I think the question is, what are we going to do about it?
I understand that. You'll understand, obviously, I don't know the details of her case or why this system has happened, but I do know that there is a commitment among ministers to make sure that this compensation is paid out as speedily as possible. I will pass on the case that you have described to ministers who are responsible for this.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Anything we can do to help Betty.
Cooper promises to forward Betty's case, offering the first clear follow-up of the morning, pressed once again for action.
So often it's about language, isn't it? Words. Sir Keir Starmer.
I mean, it sounds like the Prime Minister was quite deliberately using a phrase which was an echo of that. Is it a phrase that you would use, that we risk becoming an island of strangers? You're the person in charge of the policy.
Language shapes mistrust or trust. Without a clear answer on island of strangers, Susanna's original challenge remains as the unresolved note in the conversation. Susanna Reid's tenacity reveals the discrepancy between headline rhetoric and actionable detail, therefore allowing viewers to decide whether progress you can see exceeds exact targets and unambiguous language. Let us know what you think down below in the comments.